Welcome. You've got mail.
It's the Millennial Midlife Crisis Podcast with Justin and Sean. Take it away, guys.
All right, everybody, what's up? I'm Justin. There's Sean. We are the Millennial Midlife Crisis Podcast. This is episode 5, I think, Sean. Does that sound right?
Yes, it is. 5.
So
one for every finger.
There you go. So we are back this week. I apologize. I sound more nasally than I normally do because my children are germ factories and the whole family's been sick for 2 weeks. So we're going to persevere, though, because that's how we roll here on the podcast. But this week, our topic, we are doing an investigative deep dive into kids' movies from the 90s and whether or not they hold up. So we had a ton of people write in from both Discord and a variety of Facebook groups that we posted this in to kind of get people's feedback. If we don't get to all of them tonight, maybe we'll do a part 2 episode. We also have a few of our own. And yeah, we'll be seeing if these hold up. There's a couple. I don't know if they hold up. So we will get into it. And the other thing I want to say too is there's some that I have seen as like a 30-year-old adult that I don't think I got as much out of had I watched it when I was 8. And there's one in particular, it's more of an 80s movie, but we can talk about that as well. And it drives my wife insane whenever I bring this up. But before we get started, like I said, we are the Millennial Midlife Crisis Podcast. You can find us on all your podcast apps of choice, whether it's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Overcast, all those different places. All you gotta do is search Millennial Midlife Crisis Podcast or go to our little landing page website. That is linktree.com/MMC podcast. That will have a list of all the different places you can find our stuff. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/MMC podcast 1. Email the show at mmcpodcast1@gmail.com. And if you'd like to call and leave a voicemail that we can play on the air or shoot us a text, the number is 1-815-905-CLUB. I guess before we start, Sean, anything new, exciting, 90s nostalgia relevant before we jump in? Or are you ready to go?
No. I wish I had something just amazing to tell people. There is one thing that is coming. I saw a trailer for it. I figured we'd bring it up later on.
Sure.
Or you know what? The wheels are rolling. Justin, have you seen the trailer for Good Burger 2?
I have.
Thoughts?
Okay, so I love the Good Burger sketch from all that. I love the Good Burger movie. I still enjoy that movie unironically. Abe Vigoda does an amazing job in that movie. Sinbad is an amazing actor in that movie. I'm a little worried for the sequel, Sean. I don't know. There's something about sequels that as a kid, I thought sequels were amazing because it was just continuing this thing that I loved. But now as an adult, it never recaptures the glory of what it was when it was around the first time. Am I still going to get a free trial version of Paramount Plus so I can watch it? Oh, hell yeah. But the commercial I keep seeing is where Keenan's character is rubbing what he appears to think is soap all over his face, and Kel or Ed comes by and he's like, "Oh, dude, that's soap." Or that's not soap, that's syrup. And then Keenan does the why? And like I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna be for me. I hope it's good because I love both those guys. Kenan Thompson is one of my favorite guys on SNL still to this day because I am still unabashedly a fan of that show. I still watch it every weekend. You know, we tape it on YouTube TV or watch it on Hulu. But I don't know. I don't know. Sean, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to start by probably breaking some people's hearts. And when I was 10, 12, 8, whatever, when the original one came out, didn't really like it. Even back then, I didn't think it was that
Really?
funny.
No?
I liked the sketch on all that. And I had hope for the movie, and I just remember being a little kid being like, it had its moments.
Yes.
The trailer for Good Burger 2 follows the same vein, same humor. So I'll give it that. I will say I did get a good chuckle on and I'm not giving anything away because it's in the trailer, but that whole sequence of like when Kel is confused by the different phrases and Keenan like has to explain them to him. He's like, what's that thing that a doorbell does? Ding dong. What's that game we play with the ball? Ping pong. Like that sequence was funny. Like in the trailer, I did think that was funny in the vein of like Nickelodeon humor. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's the same thing that maybe a lot of Saturday Night Live movies suffer from, where they're still fairly successful because the skits were popular, but like, how do you take a 4-minute skit, and in this case on All That, pull it out and make it into a 90-minute movie?
Exactly.
It's tough. And I feel like with that first movie, you got a lot of kids it was popular because it was a kids movie and kids didn't know any better. And like you said, I enjoy it from like a nostalgic point of view. Is it really a good movie? Probably not. It's more of a guilty pleasure, I think, at this point. But like, I don't know. Again, I love those guys as actors, but like 25 years later, 30 years later, I think 25 years later, like, is it, I don't know. Because at this point, who is their audience? Is their audience today's kids, or is it today's kids' parents, or people our age in general? I'm assuming it's our age people, but is that humor going to work on 30 and 40 somethings now?
Well, that's the roll of the dice. I mean, like we go back and we watch it for the nostalgia of it. Like, oh, I used to watch, and maybe you would show your kids depending on how old they are or whatever. But is it gonna hit the same? Probably not. But
yeah. What I will say is, if you are somebody that grew up watching Nickelodeon as a kid and you still enjoy it now, I highly recommend. Eric and I actually watched both of these. We bought one of them. They went back and made a Hey Arnold movie where you finally find out like where Arnold's parents have been this whole time, and it was genuinely like really sweet and heartfelt, and it wrapped up the show. Granted, it was 30 something years later. Like, that was a cartoon. I really liked that cartoon as a kid. It was one of my favorite Nicktoons. They did a really good job. So if Good Burger 2 bombs, highly recommend seeking out, I think it's called Hey Arnold, the Jungle Movie. I don't remember, but they really, Hey Arnold, the Jungle Movie. It came out in 2017 already. Holy crap. That was really good. It ties in where his parents were this whole time. You find out what Arnold's last name is because you never had heard it.
Right.
You had heard it during the entire show. You just never found out that was his last name. And then
is his last name Football Head?
No, it's Short Man. Arnold Short Man, because that's what the grandpa used to.
The grandpa used to call him. That's right.
That's where it came from.
I just find that funny if my grandpa had called me by my last name, but that's
I don't know. It'd be different. And the other one, I don't know if this ever came on DVD, because like I said, we bought the Hey Arnold one. Rocko's Modern Life came back in
really
DVD. Yes, and it was on Netflix for a little while. It was called Static Cling, and they got all the original cast back, the original animators, writers, and it was apparently the last episode of Rocko. And I don't remember this because I liked Rocko, but I didn't watch it as much.
Oh, I loved it.
The last episode, they somehow get launched into outer space. I don't know if you recall this. I did not remember this at all.
I vaguely remember that. I just didn't. Maybe I don't think it hit me as the last episode.
Okay, so the premise of this one that came out, and actually, God, this is going to disappoint me because I'm sure this came out like 7 years ago. 2019. Okay, see, time has there's no perception of time anymore, but
that's right.
The premise is this one that came out in 2019. They get back to O-Town or wherever they live. O-Town, I think, was their town, and it's 2019. So all this time has passed. Life has changed. Technology has changed, and it's them trying to get back into society, and they've been gone for the last 30 years.
Oh God!
And if you can find it, it was genuinely laugh out loud funny. And again, it was targeted at 30 and 40 somethings. But it was all the original cast, and Heifer and Filbert and the Big Heads and all that stuff. They were all there. So
that's
all right.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I highly recommend those two in case Good Burger 2 bombs, which I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But all right. Let's jump in. All right, we're doing our forensic deep dive 90s kids movies. Do they still hold up 30 years later? Sean, start us off. Where do you want to start with?
Well, I have a list here that's in no particular order. And so I'm gonna start at the top of just the list that they popped into my head as I was thinking about this, and that is Richie Rich.
Oh my God.
Do you remember Richie Rich?
Richie Rich was a movie my family never owned, but we did have HBO, and I feel like I don't know why we had HBO, but that movie was on HBO all the time. So I must have seen that movie like a good 8 or 9 times, at least one summer. It's not a bad movie. I kind of still like it. Like if it was on, I'd probably put it on.
I think I would too. I think we can say it holds up. I'm sure there's some cheesiness to it, but any young adult children movie is going to be cheesy. Even a brand new one today. It's, you know what I mean? It's obviously they can't have like potty humor and things, or well, they do have potty humor, but they can't, but I remember I saw it in the movie theater. My dad took me, and I just remember it was just like mind blowing because it was like, look at all the cool stuff he has. And he has a McDonald's in his house. And,
oh my God.
And the Professor Keenbean and all
that guy was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved him. And I loved the Dad Finder or Dad Finder 2.0 or Dad Not Found. And I'm going to find the audio for that and put that in here now. But
that was like tragic though, because you were like scared because it was on the big screen in his room or in his dad's office. I don't remember which one it was. But yeah, that was like traumatic for 8-year-old me. Was like, what if he never sees his parents again?
They're going to be lost at sea. Like, I don't know. Gonna become cannibals, or I don't know. Like I was a little concerned for that too. I also loved that there's Mount Richmore where it's just the faces of them carved into the mountain. And I believe the line that still sticks with me is the antagonist who is like one of the finance guys that works for him that wants to steal all his money. He's like, where's all your treasure? Where's your where's all your gems and your jewels and your rubies and your bonds? And well, in a bank, of course. Like in that. This vault is for all our precious family heirlooms, which is like a bicycle and like a pair of boxing gloves in the background that no one's ever used, and like
his like bassinet or something.
Yeah, like really bizarre. And then there's that laser that they use to chisel out the mountain, which is then the villain is using to chisel, or one of the villain's henchmen is shooting it at them while they're up there. And I remember the mom's face gets destroyed and she's like, oh, like she gets all appalled because her face doesn't really look like
yeah.
Good
had
movie.
A roller coaster too.
Yes. And were they the one that had the slingshot thing where you would sit in it?
The catapult.
The catapult. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, that scared the hell out of me too. I was like, yeah, I don't think I would do that.
That just made me wish I had that kind of money. And okay, here one more question before we move on. Did you ever see like the Richie Rich cartoon prior to that movie, or was that your first introduction to that property?
I think I had seen it in the newspaper here and there, like the comics,
yeah.
But it was, I would say, it was probably a better introduction, or maybe I didn't even put 2 and 2 together at the time.
I feel like I don't remember if it was a Nickelodeon joint or if that was more when Cartoon Network was buying the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. But I remember watching the cartoon on, must have been Cartoon Network, and the cartoon was not very good. Like it granted, it was probably from like the 60s or 70s, so it really didn't hold a 90s kid's attention span. But the movie itself still holds up. And Macaulay Culkin, like, I remember that's the Home Alone kid. Like, what's he been up to? Not much, but here he is,
It doesn't get much more 90s than a Macaulay Culkin movie. I mean, right there.
I was literally just watching Home Alone upstairs because they're starting to play all the Christmas movies now. And God, I love that movie. All right.
Oh, it is. It's fantastic.
I'm gonna pull one from our list here.
Do it.
Oh God, there's so many good ones here. I don't really know.
I know.
Okay. And I've talked about this probably on other podcasts, but the 2 that I'm going to pull, big surprise, Mighty Ducks and Sandlot. And number 1, Mighty Ducks is the sole reason I got into playing ice hockey when I was a kid. I remember going to see that. The first one came out in 92. I want to say we saw it at Ford's movie theater on the South Side in Ford City. Not Ford's Theater. Ford City Theater. Ford's Theater's where Lincoln got shot, right?
I was trying to think of if Ford's I was actually the reason I let that go is because I was like, is that what it was called?
No,
I had to,
no,
like,
I
stop
think that's
and
me
think for a second.
taking way too much Tylenol the last 2.5 weeks or whatever that everyone's been sick here. Ford City Theater at Ford City Mall on the south side of Chicago in Ford City, I guess if you want to call it that. Seeing that and just being blown away and wanting to get ice skates. And I remember we signed up for like learn to skate classes at Oaklawn, the old Oaklawn Ice Arena, which the new Oaklawn Ice Arena isn't even new. It's like 30 years old now, which is depressing too. But that was a big deal. And then same thing with Sandlot. Like I was never a big baseball kid, but when Sandlot came out, that got me into watching White Sox and Cubs games before I finally like made a decision of what team I was going to actually cheer for. But as an adult, I wonder, the Sandlot, I think, holds up no matter what. I think that's probably the better overall movie. I like the Mighty Ducks more just because, like I said, hockey's my thing. But I wonder, and again, I saw that movie when I was like 5, so that had a huge effect on me. But if I was 35 seeing that for the first time, would I be like, this movie is crap? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think it still holds up. There's cheesy parts, but
yeah. I mean, the premise of it is like this guy gets stuck with these kids.
Yeah.
Underdog
for a
team.
DUI. He gets a DUI in a
Right.
Disney movie, right? Yeah.
Which that also tells you how 90s that is, because that will never happen again.
No. And then I remember the police officer's like, you want breath, blood, or urine, which I don't even think they do that anymore. It's just you blow it. I'm assuming it's a breathalyzer now, but that was like, he's like, no, thanks. I'm not hungry. And they're like, that's it. You're going downtown. And that's his punishment. He's going to, the DUI offender is going to coach a little league or a peewee hockey team. But the reason I bring that up, and we were talking about this before the show started. So that whole premise of not seeing a kid's movie until you're an adult, I did not see the Goonies until I was about 30. And Erica, my wonderful wife, wanted me to see that movie for so long because that's one of her favorite movies of all time. And I saw it, and it's good. It's not a bad movie by any means, but I do not have the affinity for it that I know some people do. Like, there's Goonies t-shirts you can buy, but like for me, I'm like, oh yeah, it's fine. But it's not like, because I didn't see it at the right age, it doesn't resonate with me. I don't know if that's something you've ever experienced when you've gone back to maybe seeing some movie from a long time ago for the first time, or...
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of an example. There is a couple, because I'm pretty good with keeping up with pop culture and especially like when we were younger. But I know there's one, and I know the second we sign off, I'm gonna be like, "Yep, that was the one." But yeah, right now, but I understand what you're saying, that people say that they love it or whatever, and it's just like, yeah.
So no, I don't know. I mean, it's a good movie. And I mean, if it's on, I'll leave it on just because
sure,
it's a classic. But what else you got for me?
I wanted to bring. How about this one? And maybe you can attest to this, being a father. Baby's Day Out. Does that still hold up? Where are you at on Baby's Day Out? Or have you seen it?
You're going to have to refresh my memory, because I don't know if I've ever seen Baby's Day Out.
Baby's Day Out is the rich family, and the baby wanders off, and the 3 like hoodlums try to kidnap the baby, but the baby, just being a baby, just crawling around, they're just bumbling idiots the whole time.
Oh my God, I don't think I ever saw this.
What?
I'm looking at the IMDb page right now.
This is another movie, Justin. This was on HBO like every 5 minutes when I was a kid. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this movie.
1994, after 3 kidnappers... Oh, I just clicked off of it. After 3 kidnappers lose the baby they have kidnapped, both the cops and kidnappers go looking for the baby, starring Lara Flynn Boyle, Joe Montana.
That's right. She's the mom. I forgot about that.
Joe Montana is a Chicago guy, I believe.
Yep.
Joe Pantoliano. Oh, Joe Pantoliano is in... He's Cypher in The Matrix. He's in Bad Boys. He's in... He's not in The Fugitive, is he? I think... Or they're US Marshals?
He is. Yes.
Okay. So, like, it's got a decent cast, but no, I I have never seen this movie.
You're gonna have to
All right.
watch it, and you're gonna have to review it for us.
Okay, here's some good trivia. This film's budget was a whopping $50 million in 1994, which at
Holy
the time
Christ.
was unheard of for a film that had no major leading stars in its cast. I'm curious if they have they box office. It had a budget of 54 million and it made 17 million back.
I was gonna say there's no way. No way. There's no way that it was gonna I can't even when you watch it, it's going to blow your mind that was the budget for this movie.
Well, I'm seeing some of the virtual effects they have of like the is there a scene where the baby's by a building's window or something?
Yeah,
It looks really like early CG.
The baby crawls into a construction site, and that's like one of the places where like they kind of bumble around and try to get the baby. And oh man, I want to go back and watch this now that I'm looking through it.
I'm gonna have to find some time to give that a watch.
I'm seriously surprised that's
I'm
one
like,
that you have not seen.
Cautiously optimistic on getting some good laughs out of this one. Maybe
it's not going to be good because this is one of them that I was going to vote for. Probably does not hold up. But as a child, I used to watch it all the time. I thought it was funny as hell because it's super slapsticky and goofy and
right. Huh. All right, I'll have to give that a look.
Oh man.
That's pretty good. Oh, before I forget, Jeff and Erica also wrote in on the Mighty Ducks, and Melissa and Erica also wrote in on Sandlot. So thank you to them all for writing in. All right, I have one that isn't necessarily a movie that I watch a ton. I think I bought it on DVD for $4.99 though on Amazon. But when it's on, or in the case of HBO movies, when it was on, I watched it all the time. And I think it's kind of a kids movie. I think it had to be PG. There's kids in it. But it's got the dynamic duo of Phil Hartman and Sinbad, and that is the movie House Guest. You remember House Guest?
Yes, I do.
I really enjoy that movie. Now I have not seen it probably in about a good 10 years. I hope it holds up. But like it's got some sweet like moral like hey, people change over time, but like you can still become friends with someone else even if you don't really have the similar background. Like there's that whole like underlying thing because Phil Hartman doesn't really know who Sinbad is. He thinks he's someone else, which is the whole premise of, oh, I haven't seen you in a few years. Clearly your entire body structure, facial structure, and voice have changed. And I'm just going to assume that'd be like, Sean, if I didn't see you for a couple of years and then the next time I saw you, you were 6'7" and a German man, like, you know what I mean? Like I think I might notice the Southside Irish guy isn't the guy I remember. But yeah.
No, that's oh man,
Yeah, and I loved Phil Hartman. He was such a good actor, such a good just entertainer. And same thing, Sinbad, I remember a few years ago, I watched one of his stand-ups from like probably the last 15 years. Like it genuinely had me laughing out loud, which I would have never expected from a Sinbad comedy routine. But like he actually wasn't too bad. It was actually pretty entertaining.
Good.
So yeah,
no, they're
House
both
Guest.
Yeah, no, they're both good, and it's awesome.
What other ones are speaking to you?
Working down the list, and I think other people said this too. Maybe. Oh yes. Dylan wrote in and said Matilda, and that was on my list as well.
See, that is one I've never seen.
What did your teachers do with you when there was nothing? I think the first time I saw it, it was one of those like it's 3 days before summer vacation. I don't know what else to do. And so then the TV on the stand rolled in with the VCR, and in went Matilda. Shut up and count the minutes until the bell rings.
Put on the Matilda. We got nothing to do.
That's basically
in terms of movies being brought in, I still remember like 3 days before my Christmas break in second grade, my teacher brought in Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Which second grade being like 6, Like the beginning, first half, great, but then when people are getting eaten, probably not the best thing to show to second graders. But
I
we had just done a dinosaur unit, so I think we were tying it all in. So
I
yeah,
saw it in the movie theater, so it is what it is. And
that first one is still, I would argue, the best one out of all of them.
oh, certainly,
I
absolutely,
the
hands
new
down.
ones, I gave the new ones a shot, but they are
I
not
did
good.
too.
They are not good.
No,
Um,
no.
yeah. Um,
The first Chris Pratt one was okay when they
yes,
tried
I
to
would
reopen the
accept that.
park. That was
Yeah,
okay.
it had potential going
Yeah,
forward after that. Yeah. All right, let me throw another one at you. This is another
do it.
90s kids movie, live action. This is another one I can see it. I think Erica must have bought this because I'm literally looking at our DVD shelf in the basement and I can see it from here. This was the one, the only Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Chevy Chase, and that is Man of the House. That is I would argue that probably still holds up.
I don't think I've seen it since it came out, so
Uh,
I don't really remember it.
So for those that don't remember, because I think that movie came out in like 95, 94, JTT was just getting into the height of his popularity from
Yep.
Improvement. The whole premise there is Jonathan Taylor Thomas's mom is dating Chevy Chase. I want to say they're maybe going to get engaged, or maybe he's meeting Jonathan Taylor Thomas for the first time. I don't remember the logistics of it, but somehow Chevy Chase's character gets roped into, um, I never did it, but like there was Boy Scouts and then was there Indian guides? Was that a thing?
You're asking the
Okay.
wrong Mohican.
Okay, so the whole premise is like, okay, they're gonna go out on camping retreats. It was kind of like a Boy Scout stand-in, but one of the things was if you were in this Indian guide group, you had to choose a Native American name. And I remember like that was in all the trailers, like Chevy Chase would choose JTTs, and it was some like meaningful name. And then JTT, and I apologize, I'm just tired of saying his whole name over and over again. He says, okay, Chevy Chase, your Indian guide name is going to be Squatting Dog, and like that was like the biggest joke in the entire part of the movie. Like, why, and then there's mobsters that are involved. That there's a couple mobsters that are after Chevy Chase because he wouldn't do some illicit business deal with them, and then he's got to protect Jonathan Taylor Thomas from the mobsters while they're out on this camping retreat. The more I say it, the dumber it sounds. So maybe it doesn't hold up. But at the time, it was really good. So I would recommend a watch just to see if that still holds up.
I don't know now that I'm kind of looking at it, I don't know if I've ever seen it. I know it was kind of like in the same vein as Jungle to Jungle. Remember that?
Yes, with Tim Allen, and I'm glad you brought that up because both AJ and Set to Stab from Discord wrote in and said that was a movie that they still love. Yeah, so that is literally when I was asking them about it and they responded to me online. I was like, "Oh, you mean the movie with Chevy Chase and JTT?" And they're like, "No, that was Man of the House." So like I think it was one of those like Deep Impact and Armageddon where it's the same type of movie that literally comes out months in between.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember us renting both of those from Blockbuster or Hollywood Video as children and watching those like on a Friday night after dinner. So
Yeah, I seriously don't think I've seen Man of the House now that I'm looking at it, because I know I've seen Jungle to Jungle, because that was another one that I watched. Like, apparently I didn't do much in school, because I know that I've seen a lot of these like 90s movies when I was looking back and we're looking back now. I was like, oh, I watched it in school. Oh, I watched it in school. And now I'm looking back on that, I'm going, my parents wasted their money. But I have to take this opportunity because we were talking about Armageddon, Deep Impact, those kind of movies. Perfect segue for this. The two movies that I was really excited to bring up because I mixed them up myself, same kind of beat. Did you ever see Camp Nowhere or did you ever see Camp Cucamonga?
I have no idea what those are.
Either one of them?
No. What are those?
Oh, let me take you down the rabbit hole. Because I, in school, watched Camp Cucamonga.
Okay.
And I'll get into it here in a second.
Yeah.
And one day I was flipping around TV a few years later and I saw Camp Nowhere was on and I thought it was the same thing. And I sat there and I went, this is not this is not the same movie. And then I was invested in it, and now I've seen both of them. So Camp Cucamonga is the perfect 90s movie, and it's about camp counselors and kids at camp, right?
Okay.
Simple as that. Here's what makes it the perfect 90s movie. Let me read you the cast list. John Ratzenberger, as you've known from like Cars and Cheers.
Yes.
Danica McKellar from
Okay.
Wonder Years.
Yep.
Jennifer Aniston before Friends.
Okay.
Candace Cameron of Full House fame.
Oh my God.
Beckenmeyer was in it.
Okay.
Josh Servino was in it, which was Paul in Wonder Years.
Yes.
And Jaleel White, which of course we all know as Urkel. All of those people are in that movie.
Was this like a regular like a movie theater movie? Did it get a proper release?
It may have been like a made for TV movie.
Okay. Or like a straight to VHS.
Probably. So that
I'm gonna have to seek that out.
It's not good if I remember right.
I would imagine it's not.
So that came out in 1990. Okay.
So that was like right before almost all those people got big.
Yes.
Big in quotes, because now they're most of them are a bunch of nobodies.
Yeah, I mean, what's Jennifer
Urkel's
Aniston
got like, yeah, what is she up to? I think Urkel's selling like his own version of CBD, and I don't know what Danica McKellar, I don't know what she's doing, but
she actually I know this. She
like
became
a
mathematician, yeah.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah.
And Josh Sorvino is like, I'm the kid from the Wonder Years.
He's like a lawyer or something.
Is he a lawyer, really?
Yeah, he became something else. Yeah.
He'd go around, I'm not the Savage Boy, I'm the other one.
He just puts the glasses on and goes, remember me?
Remember the 90s?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
All right. Before we get some more write-ins, I have one that I truly love. This was one, I don't think we saw this in HBO. I think this was one we rented, and then it was on HBO a lot as I got older. And I don't think you could probably make this movie today. Not because there's anything bad in it. There's nothing like inappropriate. I just think like, I don't know. I don't know how they would tackle this one, but the movie itself is Heavyweights. I love that movie with a passion. Just the opening intro that like he's going to this camp in the, like, I wanted to try the Blob so bad, where he jumps on that thing and launches another kid. And then he has this realization after watching like the what would you call it? Like the recruitment video for this camp. And he's like, oh my God, it's a fat kids camp. And like them hiding the candy. And then you have Ben Stiller's character come in who plays Tony Perkis. And he's like this insane camp counselor trying to get them to lose weight. And I've seen people draw comparisons that there's like headcanon that he goes on to be the guy from Dodgeball.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that movie. Yeah, like I don't know. Would they make a movie about a fat camp in 2023? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, not that it's a bad thing. Like, I don't think it's bad per se, but
I think they might. No, they probably just make a camp movie.
Or you wouldn't have the jock camp. Like, how crappy is it of that camp? Like, hey guys, you're trying really hard to lose weight. You're all out of shape. You are not athletic, and you're huffing and puffing no matter where you go. We're going to have you do races and things against the jock camp across the lake. Like, how unfair is that?
That's pretty ugly. I'm just coming across a pattern now that it seems like the 90s were all about camp movies.
Yes.
And camp TV shows, because there was Camp Anawana and Nickelodeon, or Salute Your Shorts. That's what it was called. I almost slipped there because I used to watch the hell out of that show too.
That show was only like 2.5 seasons.
That's the funny thing about looking back on a lot of these Nickelodeon ones, that's just how they were, and you just don't realize it until we must have watched the same episode like 6 times, but it was so entertaining, or our attention span was so small as children that we didn't care. I don't.
The Zeke the Plumber episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark still creeps me out. Like, that was nightmare fuel for like 6-year-old Justin.
Oh yeah, that was creepy for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great show. Just, I mean, Nickelodeon in general had so many great stuff back in the 90s, but one that we had 3 people write in. This was Trent, Erica, and Melissa wrote in with this one. Little Giants.
I had
Great
that on my
movie.
list as well.
Great. Rick Moranis, Ed, what's his name? Ed
O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill, thank you. Like, I love that movie. You know,
I do too.
The Icebox in
Yes.
Junior, who is, I think, Devon Sawa, who I
Could
don't
be.
know anything about Devon Sawa except until my wife said about how cool he was. And I'm like, you mean the goofy ass kid from Little Giants? And she's like, oh no, he's got a much bigger, filmography. I'm like, yeah, sure he does. Okay. But yeah, that was a great movie. And the fact that Rick Moranis and Ed O'Neill like carry that movie, you have John Madden make an appearance with the cruiser, the bus, in the annexation of Puerto Rico is a famous play. That was my fantasy football team name for like 10 years.
That's awesome.
Probably like 9 years too long, but great. You know, there's the scene of them putting on the equipment and the kid, thinks the cup is a nose protector. And it's like, oh, that's so gross.
Catching the football in the helmet in the eye hole.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then
it's just all the goofiness
and all the stuff. And yeah, great movie. The Cowboys and the Giants. And there you go. So that's another good one. Thank you to those guys for writing in as well.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
What's next on your list?
I had, because in the same vein of like surprise celebrities in the movie, and my wife would kill me if I didn't bring up one of her favorite movies, and that's The Little Rascals.
Oh God, I completely forgot they redid that in the 90s.
Oh, they certainly did.
Okay, so what was the girl? Was it Myra? Was that the girl's name?
Sure.
I remember the girl, the kid with the alfalfa. Checks out.
I couldn't let that go.
The kid with like the bowl cut, and he had the hat, and I think he was the one that started the was it the He-Man Woman Haters Club or whatever?
Something like that. I truly don't remember that much about the movie. I know that they burn down their clubhouse. They try to buy the wood with like a handful of like nickels. The guy basically gives them a doorstop. They're like, here, how much lumber can we afford with this? And he gives them like a doorstop, like piece of wood. The celebrity cameo at the end is Reba McEntire as the race car driver. I do remember that.
Oh wow!
Because it's something with the soapbox derby, and she has like a boy's name.
Yes.
So they always think that it's like a guy, and then she shows up, and they're like, "Whoa, but you're a girl."
Girls are icky. That like a light bulb just went off. I totally forgot about that. I mean, I forgot about that movie in general now that you mention it, but
it's one of my wife's favorites, so it had to be.
That was an HBO one for us.
Had to make the list.
I think back, like that was something we would always do. Like we'd get a pizza on a Friday night. We'd order pizza. We'd eat pizza. And then like, bless my parents. Like, okay, they didn't really go out a lot. They just wanted to hang out with us and watch movies. And I'm like, oh man, like some of these movies were garbage. How did you suffer through? Like I see some of the crap my daughter wants to watch. I'm like, oh God, this is awful. So
Kangaroo song.
Oh God, yes. I know that was one my mom wrote in. She's like, I don't know if Big Daddy is a 90s movie or a 90s kids movie, but that is one that definitely still holds up. I would agree with that as well.
Yes, no, and a lot of those Adam Sandler movies. I feel like we'll have like a whole Adam Sandler episode at one point.
I think we might need to do like a ranking of Adam Sandler movies.
We could certainly do that.
There's definitely the 90s were his wheelhouse. I would argue after Big Daddy, things start to go downhill pretty quick. I mean, there's a few outliers still. 8
Crazy Nights was okay. And that came out when we were in high school.
I didn't mind Click either the first time I saw
Click was okay. Yeah, Click was okay.
Definitely kind of a tearjerker near the end. But
all
right, let me run through a few rapid fire just to make sure we get everybody in. Lucas wrote in and said Free Willy, which I remember seeing Free Willy. And I remember the Michael Jackson Free Willy song more than Free Willy itself. And if you look it up, that's an earworm. You're going to have that in your head for a while.
Yes,
so
yes, it is.
So thank you, Lucas. Stefan wrote in, or Stefan, I should say, wrote in and said, Jumanji. Do you have any feelings one way or the other about Jumanji?
I love Jumanji. It holds a special place in my heart. It always will.
Yeah, that is...
Robin Williams.
Oh, he's excellent.
good and just
Yeah.
it's a fun story. Always have to support Bonnie Hunt, local girl, second city
Yes, from
girl.
Chicago.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. And David Allen Greer is the cop.
yes,
I think
yes,
good.
yeah. What year was it? What year is it? It was brand new.
Yeah. Um,
Soul
that is
Man.
that is one. I remember reading the children's book as a kid in school. And then I remember the movie coming out, and I might have saw it, or maybe I honestly don't know if I saw it until I was older. But even that is one, even seeing it as an adult, you can kind of realize like it's a good movie. And
Yes.
Robin Williams and Bonnie Hunt, like you said, they do an amazing job in that movie. And David Allen Greer too, for that matter.
Yeah.
And I can't think of the character actor that plays the dad and the hunter, but he also does a nice job too. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't
I
think of
can't
his
think of his
name.
name either, but everything he's in, he's really good too.
Stefan also said The Mask. Oh man, Jim
Mhm.
Carrey in the 90s was a creative force, I feel like, as well.
He had 3 number 1 movies in a row, and that's a record.
Was it Ace Ventura, The Mask, and what
Mhm.
was the other one?
Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, I still remember the first time I saw Dumb and Dumber. My parents, it was my mom and my aunts. They turned it off because they're like this. Because I saw it when I was young. I mean, that was like 93, 94. And then I saw it again as like a middle schooler, and I'm like, this is the greatest movie ever ever
We'll
made
have to
alive.
we'll
Yeah,
do a Jim Carrey episode too, and we could do a
I
countdown with that as well.
that is a movie I could probably recite the entire movie line by line.
Oh, I love that movie.
I love that, and the fact that they got Jeff Bridges to do that movie.
No, no,
No, not
Jeff
Jeff Bridges.
Daniels.
Jeff, different actor. Sorry, Jeff Daniels to do that movie. Thank you. Couple others. The Super Mario movie. Someone wrote in. I remember loving that movie on HBO. I know that movie does not hold up though, because it
Yeah,
wasn't. It
I
wasn't
there
good
was another
then.
one. There was another one as a kid. I went back. I just remember as a kid being like, "This sucks."
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
not. John Leguizamo, I feel like, is the best thing about that movie,
probably.
and that's probably not saying a whole lot.
Well,
I don't
Dennis
know.
Hopper was the bad guy. Good
Dennis
for
Hopper
him
was Bowser. Yeah, yeah,
for giving it a go. He probably
yeah.
had some car or something he had to pay for.
He was paying off some debt.
Yeah.
John writes in and says, "Mrs. Doubtfire," another Robin Williams
Yes, that's a
classic.
great
That
one.
the amount of times I've said with family members, it was a run by fruiting. Uh, so good. And supposedly there's like an urban legend that there's a PG-13, and a rated R version of that movie somewhere cut because
It
of
would
Robin Williams' improv and ad
I
libbing.
that wouldn't surprise me at
Which I would
all.
love. That was back when I was an English teacher. One of the lessons we would do would be on mood, and how like the mood and the tone can shape the reader's thoughts on a certain book. So what we would do is we would have the kids make movie trailers for their books, but one that we would show is someone on YouTube recut Mrs. Doubtfire as a horror movie. It is amazing. And so that was our we would be like, "Hey, look, the music in the camera choice and like the cuts that they make can totally change the way a movie feels, even though Mrs. Doubtfire is not a horror movie at all." Um, but oh god, such a good movie.
It
Robin
really
Williams
is.
is a treasure. I miss that man so much.
You said the run by fruiting. I say constantly I don't deal with the males because I used to be one. That's one of my favorite lines in that entire movie.
That is
Or
yes.
or I am job. I don't know why I say that a lot too. Even when it doesn't matter, I'm just I am job.
Yes. Oh my god, that was
Yeah, that's a
his
great one.
Harvey Firestein, I think, is in that
Yes.
too.
As
I
his brother or
Is his
brother-in-law.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
great in that too.
Yeah.
Couple other quick ones. Dunstan checks in. Cat
I
wrote
had
in.
that as well.
I, you know, that is one I loved that movie as a kid. I have not seen that probably since I was a kid in the 90s. But like, did Jason Alexander need money? Like, I'm kind of wondering, why did he do that movie?
Yeah, because
I mean,
that
he
was
was
probably
Seinfeld,
I
right?
was
Like,
gonna say that was the height of Seinfeld, but that was probably why. I mean, people were doing movies, and he said, "I'm gonna do one," and maybe he thought that would be a stepping stone into another movie or something. I don't know.
okay, so that came out in 96. So Seinfeld was pretty close to wrapping up, right? I think it was
Yeah,
97, 98. But Jason Alexander, Faye Dunaway, Rupert Everett, and Paul Rubens are in that
yep.
movie. I don't remember any of them besides Jason Alexander and the kid.
So Faye Dunaway owned the hotel.
Okay,
She was not necessarily the bad guy,
sure.
but she was like the B-roll bad guy, or not B-roll,
You mean
B-plot
she
bad
didn't
guy.
want a wild animal living in her 4-star hotel? The nerve of that
They
woman.
were going for the 5th star, Justin. That was the point of the movie. Rupert Everett was Dunstan's evil, abusive owner.
Yes, that's right.
Paul Rubens was the animal control guy, I think.
Oh my God, I vaguely remember
That
him
she
like in, like,
hired
a
to get him.
jumpsuit. Yeah.
Or did she, and then she mistaked him for the inspector, I think.
Okay. Yes, I think you're right.
So they treated him like really well, and then the real inspector, the guy from Beetlejuice, they treated him like crap, and then he because he brings it down at the end to like a 1-star hotel or whatever.
That's right. Oh my God. That
Spoiler alert if you haven't seen a 30-year-old movie.
I would say the cool thing about that movie though was just me thinking about what it would be like to live in a gigantic super
I
posh
had the
hotel
exact
like that.
oh hell yeah.
Yeah, like, suburban kid in a home.
And the technology, because doesn't he hack like the computer system or
Yeah.
something?
Yes, and
Or the bad guy does, so he can see. So I don't remember. I just
Yeah.
remember like incise in. Oh no, I remember now. I remember he's trying to figure out which room Dunstan is in. So he hacks into the what do you call it? The dining thing, the room service, and then
Oh,
he
God.
sees that it's all banana related, like banana pudding and banana cake and banana this and banana that. Don't ask me what my high school locker combination is or like what I had for breakfast, but God damn it, I will tell you how this movie went down.
Okay, that's funny you bring that up. I don't have dreams very often, but when I do, like that is one of my recurring, like not nightmare, but like recurring dreams is I need to get into my high school's locker and I cannot remember the combination. And it's like this stricken feeling of panic and terror. It's like, wait, I'm 36. Why do I need to get into this locker? Why am I in a high school? All right. I got one for you.
Hit me.
I have never seen this, but I know the main beats of this, and Erica has tried to get me to watch this numerous times, and I told her I would if she watches a Star Wars movie with me, and she would not oblige. So I said no deal. Melissa wrote in and said, "My Girl," another Macaulay Culkin joint, and Dan Aykroyd, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, so I've never seen this movie. I know, spoiler alert, the kid is allergic to bees, gets stung by a bunch of bees, and
Thomas
dies.
J.
And then the leading actress is like at the funeral, he needs his glasses. He can't see without his glasses. Which sounds probably horrible in my sick voice.
That's dead. That's dead on. That's I
went
thought you played the
education.
trailer.
I could have been an actor. But and then I remember seeing like all the pock marks on his face from the stings, and then they closed the casket. And then I remember hearing that there's a My Girl 2, and I'm like, did they resurrect his corpse? Like, how did this happen?
No,
it's a different story, I think, right?
Yeah, it is. It's her when she goes to college or something.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Well, because she's trying to be a writer in the first one.
So I have never seen it. I'll be honest, I have no interest in seeing it.
It's good. I'm not afraid to admit that.
No, I've heard it's good.
It's a good movie. Dan Aykroyd's good in it. Jamie Lee Curtis is his love interest. She's like this kind of hippie.
I didn't know she was in it. Okay.
Yeah, she's kind of like this hippie chick that comes to town because it takes place in the 70s.
I did not know that either. Okay.
Yeah, it takes place in like the late 60s, early 70s. It's a real kooky story because she lives with Dan Aykroyd, her dad, and they live in a funeral home, and like there's like a little comic relief that happens with that. And Jamie Lee Curtis comes to town to be a makeup artist, and she wants to be like Hollywood makeup, but then Dan Aykroyd hires her, so then she's doing dead people, and it's kooky, I'm telling you. But I swear to you, I am Team Erica. This is a good movie. I understand your deal, but if it is on and she's not home, you can watch it. You can watch it. Well, no, I just mean like it's not a. Some people might think it's a chick movie. I don't. I think it's just a good movie.
You're talking to a guy who You've Got Mail is like in his top 10 movies of all time. So I have no problem watching a chick flick. But
it's a good movie.
To piggyback off of Funeral Home, in Home Alone. You know where I'm going with this. The wonderful John Candy and the line of, we realized we left the little tyke at the funeral home all day with the corpse.
All day.
And, a few weeks went by. He started talking again. But Donna and Melissa wrote in and said Home Alone is a 90s movie that still holds up. Coming in 1990, I believe, is when that came out. Oh, yeah. That is one I've loved ever since I saw it as a kid. But I feel like just recently, like, it's crept up into, like, my maybe, like, top 2 Christmas movies of all time, where it was more like a top 5-ish for me. I don't know why I like it so much more now, but I do. And I do remember seeing Home Alone 2 at Chicago Ridge theaters as a kid. And I remember that being a big deal with the movie poster of him, like, was it the Empire State Building maybe? Or, God, I hope it wasn't the World Trade Center. That would be grim. But him on top of a building, and then, with his arms, like, hanging over. I know he's at the Trade Center in one of the scenes, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Donna and Melissa are spot on. That is a great, I don't know. When you think of 90s movies, that doesn't always necessarily come to mind right away, but it definitely is. So
no, just because I think it doesn't come to mind mostly just because of the fact that it's just, I think everyone knows it as a good
Christmas
movie or a classic movie or a Christmas movie. Yeah, for sure.
And Home Alone 2, actually not bad.
I don't hate it. Yeah, no, it's pretty good. I remember that was a big deal, like you said, when that came out, because I also remember, quick side story, my cousin saw it before me and I was super jealous.
Yeah. And I love oh God, what's his name in Home Alone 2 that plays the head of the hotel? Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes, damn it.
Someone is screaming at their speakers right now.
I know. I can see him.
Hold on. And I know
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry, thank you, Tim Curry. I just love the Mr. McAllister, your cheese pizza is ready. Anyway, Tim Curry.
Or the Grinch smile, the side by side, him and the Grinch. Yes. Credit the card has been declined.
I don't even understand how that credit card reader works, where they just, do the thing, but
90s magic.
90s magic.
Not Magic Johnson, just 90s magic.
Just 90s. Not even gonna go there. All right. Yeah. What else you got, Sean? Before we get
again, I'll just rapid fire them. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies.
Yes.
Those I think they hold up for nostalgia. Movie wise,
the first one still holds up. Because that
Secret of the Ooze was always my favorite one, though.
As a kid, that was my favorite too, because I'm still like a unabashed like TMNT fan. Like, I bought like some of the comics recently and read through them, and I don't even read comics. But anyway, the first one is like the dark and gritty one with Casey Jones, and Casey Jones is awesome. So that one still holds up. Like, if you just want a good action movie, kind of silly because they're mutant turtles, and the puppeteering is a little goofy, that still holds up. Secret of the Ooze, I went back and watched probably over the summer a couple of years ago. It's bad. Like,
don't hurt me.
I still love it because I remember seeing it in theaters, but it's not good. And number 3, like, as a kid, I enjoyed number 3. Number 3 is bad.
I didn't like it as a kid. I knew as a kid, I was like, this sucks.
So yes, we had that as well. That's a good pull. But yeah, that first one, Corey Feldman does the voice of Donatello.
Yep, I did know that.
So
speaking of movies, again, rapid fire, we'll get through this because I know the clock's ticking.
Yep.
Movie that does not hold up, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. You ever see that one?
No.
Oh, awful CGI, awful movie, money grab, 100%. Freaking terrible. I watched, it was on not that long ago, like maybe a year or 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I used to watch this as a kid. Oh, it's entertaining. I'm like, what the hell am I watching? How did this get greenlit? This is terrible.
No, and it's sad because I've heard that too. The first one, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I still love, and I think is still a good movie.
Yeah.
And even I remember in the 90s, they did a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
Yeah.
Which I think that was straight to VHS.
Yeah.
And I remember liking that too.
It's okay.
I never saw Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
That has young Mila Kunis in it.
Does it really?
Yeah, she's one of the kids. Remember the kids throw the party? She's one of the kids at the party.
Oh wow! Holy
Hmm.
cow! I did not
Yeah, I
know
know
that.
stuff. I don't know anything about taxes or anything adult oriented, but I'll tell you who's in a movie from 25 years ago.
Well, hey, the IRS hasn't come after you yet. You're good.
Another one I want to throw out there real quick is Beethoven.
Oh, Charles Grodin.
Yep.
Rest his soul.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I
That is
don't
a
I
good
don't
one.
know I don't know if it would still hold up like as well. I think it would be mildly entertaining.
Yeah, I feel like the premise is just. I feel like that was something. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of movies that get made today that don't have a great premise, but like the the story arc is very like they're really pulling everything they can to get it. You know what I mean? To get out of
Yeah.
that. But yeah, and I remember was it Beethoven's second was the next one?
Yeah, with the
I think.
puppies.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one too as a kid.
It was okay. That one was
One that we just watched because Maddie doesn't really sit through movies very well at home. It's mostly Bluey, Miss Rachel, or Sesame Street. But Erica had on the Disney Channel, and she put on the first Homeward Bound to keep her
okay.
interest, just because of the animals.
Sure.
And it wasn't bad. Like it's
Okay.
still like I remember liking that movie as a kid. It wasn't as good as I remember, obviously.
Sure.
But I mean, Michael J. Fox is a dog. What more can you want? You know?
Sally Field was the cat, and I
Yes.
don't remember who the other dog was.
It was an actor that was
Oh.
much older, that passed away right after it came out. Let me
That's
see.
right. I think I read that somewhere. Yeah.
It was, Don Amici
Hmm.
was Shadow. Yeah. So that's a good one as well.
Should we blast through the rest of the
Yes.
write-ins? I
Yeah,
don't want to leave
yes.
anybody out.
No, let's do it. You want me to start or you wanna start?
Go ahead.
All right, I'll take this first column. Brink, which I believe was a Disney straight to Disney Channel movie. Erica told me they're called DCOMs, Disney Channel original movies, which I did not
Okay.
have the Disney Channel growing up.
I
But
did not either.
Brink was one written in by Johnson and Nick, and it was as a skate movie. Andrew wrote in and said a Goofy movie, which I remember the commercials for. I never saw a
Mhm.
Goofy movie.
No.
John writes in and said Dennis the Menace. Now, the first Dennis the Menace, where Christopher Lloyd is the bad guy and Walter Matthau is
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. That movie scared the hell out of me as a kid because Christopher Lloyd, when he's eating like the beans and by the creek with the fire,
Yeah.
scary looking dude. Now there was another Dennis the Menace movie that had Don Rickles as Mr.
Yes.
Wilson, which I liked that one a lot more.
I like them
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
They both have their pros and cons for sure. Walter Matthau was great.
Yes. Yes.
Who the hell was his mom in that?
I can picture.
Lorraine for Back to the Future. Why can't I think of her real name?
Oh, Leah Thompson. No.
Thank you.
Yes, Leah Thompson.
Yeah, she was his mom, and she was good in that. And
apparently, Natasha Lyonne played the one of the girls in the movie, which I don't remember at all.
No, I'd have to go back.
What else we got? Blank Check by Kat. She wrote that in. That was a good one. A little weird at the end when the grown woman kisses the kid. But I mean, it was harmless. But Tone Loc I think he's in Blank Check, right? I think
so.
Great.
I don't know
movie.
if I've ever seen that all the way, to be honest with you.
As a kid, I just thought that was amazing. And then as an adult, I'm like, the odds of this actually working are so slim. I don't know if it actually holds up. And then Erica wrote in to go along with our Good Burger 2 discussion earlier. She said Good Burger, the first one, which I know how you feel on it. I still will watch it just because I think I have a special place for my heart in that one. It is stupid. I will be the first to admit that.
All right.
Next column?
Frank and Zach have Surf Ninjas. I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I've never seen it.
I have never seen that either.
Oh, thank God. Cool.
Never
All
saw
right.
it. Never saw it.
Babysitter's Club. Another one I have never seen. It was not marketed toward me.
No.
But I remember. Yeah, right. I remember a lot of girls in school going crazy for it. So I'll give it a thumbs up. Major Pain. I don't know if I've seen it all the way through, and if I have, it's been a really long time.
I saw it. I remember seeing it as a kid. It was a rental, and I liked it at the time. I just remember him doing like a retelling of The Little Engine That Could, but it was about his buddy that like was getting shot in Nam to all these little children. I'm like, oh man. But yes, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Then we
Three
have
Ninjas. I remember Three
yeah.
Ninjas.
Then we have Three Ninjas. I remember that as well. I don't know if I ever saw it.
I remember they had the cool masks. But that's about all I remember from that one.
And then Hocus Pocus. I'm gonna catch so much shit for this. I hate that movie.
I hate that movie too.
movie.
Yes.
I hate that movie.
No offense to Erica and Donna who wrote in. I know Erica loves that movie. With a
People
passion.
either love it. Yeah, people either love it or hate it.
I had never seen it until this year. She had it on with the kids, and I'm like, "You serious right now? Like,
Yeah,
this is a movie that like this is not good. This is dumb as hell." No offense.
And then my wife watched the sequel or whatever, and I think I was there for about 15 minutes. And I'm like, nope.
Even Erica hated that. She's like, this was awful. And then she went on this tangent that apparently someone wrote a sequel novel, which was perfect, and they should have just pulled from that to make the second movie, and they didn't. So there's a divide in the Hocus Pocus community right now. And there's a Hocus Pocus 3 coming out at some point. I don't know when, but
really?
Yes.
Yikes.
All right, Gio wrote in Land Before Time. I don't remember anything about that movie except being really sad when whatever the dinosaur's mom was died.
See, I think that's another one that I would mix that and Fern Gully up a lot.
I remember Fern Gully as in it was an animated movie, but I couldn't tell you a single thing about it.
But I'm like, I don't remember what's in Land Before Time and what's in Fern Gully. They both take place in like the woods or the forest or something. Yeah. Like I know, I'm sure I'm breaking hearts right now, but it is what
Parents
it is.
are killed and it's the kids trying to survive or the kid animal trying to survive.
Right.
And then Erica also wrote in with Witches, which I believe was another Disney. I have no idea what that is. And then Rookie of the Year, which is a Cubs fan, John Candy, Daniel Stern. That is a great movie. I think that still holds up. I think that's just a fun kids baseball movie that still holds up.
That probably does. Silly. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a while. I would probably agree with you on that. That I would probably sit through that again.
The premise that he messes up his arm by falling on a baseball and that messes up the tendon when it heals so that he can pitch in the majors. But also the Cubs were an absolute joke back then, so it also ties into that, which I can appreciate that.
Yep.
They have a kid pitching for them. And then lastly, Eric just had a blanket statement of saying all 90s Disney.
Sure. I mean,
that is definitely my wheelhouse in terms of like Disney movies. But like after Toy Story 2, I was kind of like out of that. I saw Toy Story 3 as an adult, loved it. And I'm sure now I'm going to come full circle and I'll be getting into Disney with my kids now. I think that's generally how it'll go.
But I stopped at Cars because that was just pretty obvious on why.
That's a good send off for you.
Yeah,
exactly. But like Lion King in the original Aladdin and the first Toy Story. Granted, I know Pixar is technically with Disney, but not. A lot of like that was. As a kid, I remember that was a big deal. Like, oh my gosh, this is the next Disney movie coming out. All right, mark it on your calendars. We're going to go see it in theaters.
Yep. No, that was definitely, that was the lifestyle back then.
Those were the days. Before we wrap up, Sean, you got any others you want to touch on real quick?
I don't think so. I think we hit everything that. Oh, the only other thing that I was going to bring up, the only two I was going to bring up actually was the Ernest movies.
Oh God, yes.
And that just kind of goes without saying that they weren't good, but they were good.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I think you nailed it. Yeah. And there was a wide variety. You had everything from him going to prison to him saving,
Christmas and
school.
Yeah. And then the only other one that I was going to talk about was Problem Child 1 and 2, which they both entertain the shit out of me.
Another Charles Grodin movie, right?
No, John Ritter.
That was Was that Martin Short and John Ritter? No, I'm thinking of Clifford with Martin Short and Charles Grodin, where Martin Short plays a little kid that's like an absolute jerk.
No, that's way over my head. I have no idea what you're talking about.
You need to look up photos of that.
I will watch that.
Yes, I do.
I will watch that when you watch Baby's Day Out.
Perfect. All right. I think there's a better chance of me watching Baby's Day Out than My Girl. I can tell you that right now.
That's why I picked Baby's Day Out, not My Girl.
Well, we made it through another episode, Sean.
We certainly did.
Whoops, you know what the music means. Our time is up.
doing here, please give us a 5-star review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. You can do that from your app. It's free, takes 30 seconds. Don't have to write anything. Email the show, mmcpodcast1@gmail.com, facebook.com/mmcpodcast1, or go to our landing page website where you can find the podcast at Linktree, linkttree.com/mmc podcast, or call the show and leave a voicemail, 1-815-905-CLUB. We will be back in the next week or two. We'll come up with another topic. Maybe we'll do like a top 5 or something.
Sure.
Top 5 list. So that's it for us. We will be back. Sean, you got any parting words?
Just, hey, keep on keeping on. Remember the 90s, and we'll see you next time. Write in with, if you guys have topic ideas, something you want to hear us talk about, let's hear them.
All right. That'll work.
Cool.
All right. We'll be back. Same bat channel, same bat time at some point in the next week or two. I guess that doesn't really make sense, but I'm going to shut up before the music ends. Take care. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.